welcome back to the Citizen Channel. We're all staying safe and well. And part 3, our final part of our look back at our comprehensive match-by-match analysis. All right, comprehensive. A few words on each game, but it's comprehensive. You're going to see certainly on YouTube on City's 21-22 season. Anyway, that's for sure. So welcome back to part 3 as we're still knocking along in the FA Cup. And, of course, the Champions League. And the league, we're still on top of the league as we come, of course, to March. March. We're looking from March onwards, March the 1st onwards. So please, if you enjoy this, please push that subscribe button if you've not already done so. Watch parts 1 and 2 as well if you've not already done so before you watch this. That'll be great. Tell your mates if you're already subscribed. Pass the words, that's all I ask. You make an old City fan very, very happy. Any thumbs up, so that guys, likes, retweets, whichever you're watching this on, it'd be great to get that as well. So thank you very much. Right, we're going to have a look. We're going to go back to the FA Cup first of all. We've lost the Carabao Cup. It's not our cup anymore, unfortunately, until perhaps next season. So we're going to go back to FA Cup action. And 31 years that I trundled down 31 years ago to this place, as I'm trundled down back to it this time. Of course, our very first visit in the 5th round of the FA Cup to Peterborough, of course, London Road in those days, for another 5th round tie on the 1st of March. I'll say two 5th round ties separated by 31 years. 2 results, not the same results, but 2 wins anyway on a tricky pitch it was. We were being held at half-time, but 2 goals by Mahrez and Grealish set up by a delightful Foden pass. That one, stunning, saw us safely through to the quarter-final. Man of the match for that one, Mr. Phil Foden. The gap at the top was 6 points now to Liverpool, who were on a bit of a run and closing the gap. They also had a game in hand, so that gap was only really 3 points. We never imagined Liverpool would drop many points or lose many games. So the 6th of March derby with United became a bit of a biggie. We could ill afford to replicate recent meetings at the Etihad where they seem to have held the upper hand. We very rarely won these days. So as it turned out, they couldn't live with us, could they? They couldn't do like as they couldn't at Old Trafford. They certainly couldn't live with us this time at the Etihad. And despite a blip, Man United pulled it back to 1-1. 2 goals each from KDB and Mahrez was the difference as we run out easy 4-1 winners. Man of the match, KDB. Back to the Champions League, back to the UCL action in the return leg with Sporting, of course. A 5-0 advantage from the first leg. And this was a bit of a drab, wasn't it? Efficient, but drab 0-0 draw. Although it looked as though Jesus had nicked a winner until VAR intervened. Highlights were probably Carson coming on for Ederson in the 73rd minute. And actually made a good save as well to keep a clean sheet. And this was Ferner's 100th Champions League appearance. So a good milestone for that gentleman. Man of the match, Ferner. Fernandinho, not just for sentiment. He deserved it fully. With Liverpool closing the gap to 3 points before our Monday night match at Selhurst Park on the 14th of March, the pressure was still on and it was going to get a bit worse for us, wasn't it? We couldn't find a goal in the game that we totally dominated. And Pep saying we were playing so well and neglected to make any substitutes to change it anyway. So, well, that's another matter, isn't it? It appeared that the momentum that we never really had, it was a bit on and off, still clearly passed back to Liverpool now. Now only 4 points behind with a game in hand. And, of course, we would be meeting them very soon in April at the Etihad. Man of the match for that Crystal Palace game, it had to be Stones, but it was very hard to pick one for that one. But on the 20th of March, it was away from the stresses of the league and down to St Mary's for an FA Cup quarter-final. This time we managed to break down the Saints, which we hadn't done in the league, of course. And it was only a ridiculous own goal by Laporte on the stroke of half-time that sent the teams in level. We looked comfortable at 1-0 and after Sterling had given us the lead. But City bounced back. A KDB pen, Foden and Mahrez completed a 4-1 win. And of course, we will be meeting Liverpool in the FA Cup semi-final. Man of the match, KDB. Our match stats: played 5, won 3, drawn 2, scored 10, let in 2. As Sean Dyche led Burnley, won't be for much longer, would it? In the next game on the 2nd of April at the Etihad, Liverpool by that time had led the table after their morning kickoff. Yes, this was all to do with the scheduling now as to who went top of the league. Of course, Liverpool were on top. And with the big 2 battle between us and them the next week, we couldn't really afford to mess this one up against Burnley, who had their own fight on their hands, of course, to try and stay in the Premier League. KDB and Mahrez first half goals settled the match, though, comfortably 2-0. Man of the match, Sterling. Before the big one, before Liverpool and City, it was a small matter of a first leg Champions League quarter-final to play at the Etihad against Atletico Madrid. Simeone's charges, like any real endeavours, he defended for all they were worth and got up to other things as well. But a moment of magic involving Foden, finished by KDB, gave City a fully deserved 1-0 victory to take back over to Madrid. Man of the match, KDB. On the 10th of April, Liverpool came to the Etihad just a point behind. It was a game neither team could really afford to lose, with 1 point between us. 8 games to play, with neither team looking like dropping many points in the last 7 after this one. And so it was. That's how it turned out. We played out a 2-2 draw, although as it was at Anfield, City had been the better team, but we couldn't make it count by getting all 3 points. Scorers for City, Jesus and KDB. Man of the match, Foden. On the 12th of April, Ferner had announced he would be leaving City at the end of this season. In a press conference, Pep appeared honestly shocked by this. He seemed unaware, but I think most City fans had expected it, and probably more than Pep seemed to. On the 13th, City had to go to Madrid, of course, to defend their hard-won 1-0 win in the second leg of the quarter-final. Despite a comfortable first half for City, we were sort of absolutely battered in the second half by Atletico, but somehow we survived. And with time running out, rather than carry on trying to batter us, they lost the composure, didn't they, Atletico? And were lucky to finish the game with the 10 men they did finish the game with, as their discipline fell apart. And we, of course, after all that happened, obviously the last 10 or 15 minutes was fairly easy for City. We sort of weathered the storm, and Atletico had shot themselves in the foot. And a semi-final date with Atletico's neighbours, Real Madrid, was on the cards. Man of the match for that one, John Stones. A battered and bruised but happy City travelled next to Wembley, of course, for the semi-final with Liverpool on the 16th of April. Fernandinho led City out that day for the last time as a player at Wembley. Pep chose Stefano over Ederson, which had a few raised eyebrows, to say the least, and we were made to suffer as Liverpool strolled to a thoroughly deserved 3-0 lead at half-time. We were better second half. We got 2 back through Grealish and Bernardo, but the damage had already been done, and we'd lost our 3rd semi-final in a row and 4 out of 5 under Pep. Not good. Man of the match, John Stones. Licking our wounds, at least the return to the Etihad on the 20th of April brought a team that wanted at least to try and play football, didn't want to try and defend, and it was Brighton who visited us. And again, Liverpool had nicked top spot, playing early before us, but we were comfortable 3-0 winners over Brighton, which put us back on top again. And it was Pep's 250th win with City. All the goals came in the second half through Mahrez, Foden and Bernardo. Man of the match, KDB. 3 days later, struggling Watford came north, and it was to be a Gabriel Jesus show as he snatched 4 goals in a 5-1 thrashing. Rodri scored the other, yes, from a Jesus assist. It was really his show. Man of the match, could it be anybody else? Probably not, Jesus. On Tuesday the 26th of April, 13 times European Cup winners in its various guises. At Real Madrid, but at the Etihad. But City though, were still strong favourites for this. City had looked the better team. Real Madrid, although champions in their own league, City was still fancied for this one. Views were mixed on a magnificent 4-3 win for City. Many believe that City perhaps should have done better, but either way, it was breathtaking to watch as both teams slugged it out, certainly for the neutral fan. KDB, Jesus, Foden and Bernardo were our scorers. We will find out 8 days later if it had been enough or not. Man of the match, KDB. Another team struggling were Leeds, though Jesse Marsch had improved them from the side City had thrashed 7-0, of course, at the Etihad earlier in the season. The trip to Ellen Road on the 30th of April could have been a tricky one because they were fighting for their lives, but it did turn into a comfortable 4-0 win. Aki, Rodri and Jesus scored, and Ferner, got the last goal for City and his second of the season, and his final ever goal for City, of course, as he retired at the end of the season. And it was actually voted the most powerful goal of the season by the Premier League and Sky Sports. Man of the match for that one, Foden. April, an amazing 9 games played stats. April stats, nine games played, won 6, drawn 2, and lost 1. Scored 23, let in 9. So on the 4th of May, it was off to the Bernabeu, of course, defend a 4-3 lead. All seemed to be going so well as Mari's made it 1-0 and 5-3 on aggregate in the 73rd minute. But from nowhere, and it was nowhere, Real Madrid were back in it, scoring the 90th and the 91st minute to take the tie to extra time. We appeared beaten, City appeared beaten, and the penalty scored by Madrid 4 or 5 minutes into injuries, into extra time, was enough for Real Madrid to go through as they saw out the rest of the extra time by doing what good teams do, gamemanship, and just keeping, feigning injuries, wasting time, and that's what good teams do. And they didn't really have any real emergencies. That City never really threatened. So we'd lost the game, we had seemingly won, and now all that was left was, of course, the league title. Man of the match for that one, well, it's Bernardo. City, we had to bounce back quickly, of course we did, and a rejuvenated Newcastle visited the Etihad on the 8th of May. But there were no match, of course, for a KDB-inspired City that day. Sterling with a couple, Laporte, Rodri and Foden kept City on the top of the pile with a 5-goal hammering. But there was to be a sting in the tail. Man of the match, KDB. Yes, as the season has reached its climax and we were holding on to a 1-point advantage over Liverpool, just 3 games to go, a bit of a defensive injury crisis left City without Diaz, Stones and Walker, and a not totally fit Aki as well. So problems. Of course, Pep would have to turn to our Brazilian Fernandinho, say is very close to retirement, to step into the breach. And for the first time in the whole season, Ferner actually would start 3 games in a row, the last 3 games. He'd never managed more than 2 previous to this season. On the 11th of May, City visited Molineux to face Wolves, who had a recent good record against us, so it was no easy task. But City were in no mood to let them spring a surprise in this one, and mainly thanks, and the guy who was in no mood for this one was KDB, who dominated this game and pulled everyone else along with him from start to finish. With Ferner alongside City at the back, we never looked at any real problems as KDB totally dominated, scored for himself, and Sterling added another late on. Man of the match, well, it could only be KDB for that one. It all meant, of course, that a victory at the London Stadium against West Ham would all but guarantee City the title with a better goal difference than Liverpool, which we'd caught up and passed over the last 3 or 4 months. But it was all going wrong. We found ourselves 2-0 down at half-time. A City fight back, of course, that's what we saw. It was 2-2 thanks to Grealish and a Kufal own goal. And the fight back appeared complete in the 84th minute, as although ref Mr Taylor didn't want to give it, he waved away appeals for a penalty. VAR told him, go and have a look, mate. Yes, it was a foul on Jesus. And of course, he went back, looked, and gave the penalty. Sadly, and as I said, I've a lot of times in these parts 1, 2, and 3, I've been saying Mahrez goal through a penalty. Sadly, no, it was his good run of scoring. Penalties came to an end at the most inopportune time. He had his shot saved, and it was all going to be down to that last game at the Etihad against Aston Villa. Of course, we still had it in our own hands as we remained 1 point clear of Liverpool. Man of the match for that one, Jesus. So we came to the end. We came to Sunday the 22nd of May, the final game, Manchester City versus Aston Villa. Gerrard in charge of Villa, Coutinho in the side. What could go wrong? Well, interesting. Let's see what could go wrong. Well, Ferner led us out, of course, for this last game, in this must-win final home game. Because there's no doubt that Liverpool were going to beat Wolves at Anfield. There's never any doubt in any of our minds that was going to happen. So it was a must-win. We couldn't afford a draw. We couldn't afford a loss, of course. It was a must-win after that cock-up at the old London Stadium. And yes, John Stones was back. We were all happy John Stones was back, but we don't know why. He was played at right back, yes, and he kept his Laporte and Ferner centre-half partnership intact. We all sort of had our head in our hands a little bit at that decision, but Pep knows best, doesn't he? perhaps sentimentality. Not usually Pep's way, is it, to give Werner the last game of the captaincy and lead them out? Probably not, but hey, we'll never know for sure. But as with the West Ham game, the tension and nerve certainly got to City, and we never got going in that first half. And we actually went in half-time 1-0 down, devastating. We were still on top, of course. Liverpool were drawing at home, so that wasn't winning the title. Pep rang the changes as Zinchenko, Gundogan and Sterling all came on in the second half. But even more disaster shortly after Gundo entered the fray. Villa got a second through, yes, you guessed it, Coutinho. And 5.5 minutes of City magic, and that's what it was. And you can watch it back. I watched it back a few times already. With a brace from Gundogan and a Rodri strike, gave City the lead. And for that final 13 or 14 minutes, which included injury time, we never really looked like relinquishing that 3-2 lead. And we were back-to-back champions, and that's all we asked. It wasn't the easiest way of getting there, but the way we did it, we'll have that at the end. Man of the match, he wasn't on long, but my man of the match had to be Gundogan. Simple as that. Our May stats, we played 5, won 3, one of them very important, obviously. Drawn 1 and lost 1, but it didn't matter at the end of the day. We had what we really wanted, and what was the biggest prize, of course, the English Premier League. Scored 16, let 8 in. So there it is. A real season of highs and lows, disappointments and highs and disappointments and lows. Just the one trophy, but the biggest. So we'll take that. Of course we will. Our season stats, we played 58 in total, won 41, drew 8, lost 9, scored 149 goals and let 51 in. We had a 71% win rate, which wasn't too shabby. Players, just a couple of player mentions. The most appearances by a player all season was Cancelo with 51 appearances, 51. 3 goals to his name. Most goals, of course, went to Mr. Mahrez with 24 in 44, helped by a few penalties, apart from one crucial one, but we'll brush over that one. And the most league appearances, well, as expected, probably, Ederson with 37 out of the 38. There you go. We'll be back, of course, at the end of July 2022 to start and go through it all over again. What more? What happy days. What more can we want? Thanks for watching, guys. Please, whatever you do, I only ask one thing, don't I? Please stay safe, please. Come on, City. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.